And women alike in this part of the world are well aware of the fact that most women have slept with men into the double and sometimes triple digits. I cannot give you percentages. I cannot give you statistics. I cannot give you any of that stuff because, quite frankly, I don't need to. And don't come at me with the, well, I know a girl who doesn't sleep around, because number one, you don't know that. And number two, even if she didn't, that doesn't mean she hasn't before or won't in the future. So miss me with these false outliers. Women are impulsive by nature. And when you add that impulsiveness along with the need for their constant validation, subtract accountability, and multiply by the number of dating apps where she can summon dudes right to her exact location in a matter of minutes, you get girls dividing their body counts by 45. Simple math. Now, if you're listening to my show, you know that easy girls make terrible wives, bad girlfriends, and horrible mothers. I am not breaking news here or telling you guys anything you don't already know. If you are here, then you already understand this very clearly. We also know that these women are good for nothing but smoking sausage and sausage smoking alone, nothing more. And believing anything different will get you burned every single time. Again, we know and understand this very clearly. Something else we acknowledge to be an undeniable reality in today's dating market is that falling in love with the girl who sleeps around always leads to trouble, heartbreak, financial ruin, paternity fraud, divorce e-par spelled backwards. The list goes on. With all of this knowledge and understanding, why then do we continue to fall for these women? We can all be meathead 5%er guy and say, I'd never fall in love with a girl like that, but we all have in the past, and most of us will in the future. Hell, I'm as guilty as anybody for falling for these chicks. I'm not going to sit here and front like I'm Captain Alpha Male 127% of the time and tell you guys that I haven't fallen for women I knew I had no business falling for. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that when I learned the truth about women, that I became completely impervious to the wiles and temptations that only a girl who sleeps around can provide. I'm a man just like you. I am as susceptible to the things these girls tempt us with as anybody out there. And post-unplugging, even I have fallen into this trap many times. So now we ask the question, why do we fall in love with cucumber connoisseurs? Well, the answer to that question is because it's almost too easy to fall in love with these chicks. And that brings us to a more important question, which is, why are they so easy to fall in love with? That is the question that I intend to answer in today's video. So let's get started here. The first reason we fall for these girls is they are attractive. And don't come at me with overweight, unsightly girls who get passed around. Nobody falls in love with overweight females except for extremely low-value men who are not interested in raising their value. Yes, low-value men listen, watch, and read me, but these are guys interested in raising their value and improving as men. Whether you're high value or aspiring to be high value, you are not falling in love with unsightly, overweight girls who are easy. At best, you use them for the occasional slump buster, and even then, I would strongly advise to stay away. But the reason we fall in love with them is because they're attractive. And as men, we want to be with attractive women. Not difficult to understand here. A lot of these girls are attractive, some are very attractive, and some are even hot. The hotter the girl, the easier you fall in love. You know it, I know it, and she knows it. And again, don't be meathead 5%er guy and come at me with, I don't care how hot she is. Yeah, you do. We all do. We are men, and we are all visually motivated. Only when you understand what motivates you can you be self-aware enough to understand that the reason you are catching feelings for the purple-haired, tattooed wannabe Instagram model you're sleeping with is because she's got big boobs, a flat stomach, and a pretty face that looks even prettier when it's wrapped around your junk. Number 2, they're great in bed. Now, before I tell you why girls who are great between the sheets are easy to fall for, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. These girls have had years of practice honing their skills in bed. Practice makes perfect, as the saying goes, and trust me when I tell you that the best sex you will ever have is with girls who sleep around. And don't come at me with, yeah, I'd rather have a virgin. Yeah, no kidding. We all would. But virginal women are about as common as the dodo bird. So if you're waiting on one to just magically appear, it's going to be a long wait. And let me know how that turns out for you. Promiscuous women will drain your you-know-whats like no other. They know how to move. They know how to make your junk sing a lullaby with every opening they have. They know how to contort their bodies in every position. They know how to look good while getting pounded. They know how to sound. They know what to say. They give unbelievable Bobby Joes. They consume your protein in their stomachs. They'll let you blast your protein in their faces. I mean, these chicks straight up give you the adult film star treatment because they have about as much experience, if not more, than the adult film stars themselves. Every one of us has spanked the monkey to spicy movies, and most of us either have or have had a spicy movie addiction. And let's keep it 100. The things these actresses do on screen is nothing short of magical. Yes, I said magical. And don't be the I hate spicy movie guy. These flicks are awesome and you know it. You've got the hottest girls with the best bodies performing every conceivable act and looking great while doing it. And that is exactly why it's addictive. When you get a girl who vacuums, moans, and, quote, consumes, and lets you do anything you want to her, that's addictive. And if she is even half decent looking, if she's even a 6, you will get hooked. And before you know it, your brain is releasing dopamine, which is exactly the same chemical it releases when you're feeling what you think is love. You want to know what else gives you this feeling? Heroin. Just let that sit in your mind for a while, and it's easy to understand why it's easy to get addicted to certain girls. These girls are great in bed, guys, and the less experience you have between the sheets, the more susceptible you are to being hoodwinked by a woman. Number 3, and this is very important, gentlemen, listen up. They tell us things that bypass our common sense and rationality. Girls who sleep around are professionals at bypassing a man's rational thinking and activating that provider and protector instinct that causes us to become possessive over her. Now, what I mean is that they know exactly what to do and say that will cause a man's common sense to be overridden by his biological hard drive to possess a woman's body. Now, we've already talked about 2 things they do, which is looking great and being great in bed. The better a woman looks, the more leeway we tend to give her in terms of bad behavior. The more we like smashing a woman, the longer we keep her around despite the fact that she's terrible company. Simple math. But because of the internet, and more specifically the 5% community, more and more men are becoming more aware that great-looking women, women who are great in bed, or both, are almost guaranteed to be poorly behaved. That doesn't mean we're not still suckered in by her good looks and great oral skills, because the fact that we're more cognizant of the fact that these women are a friggin' handful makes us just a tiny bit less susceptible to their foolishness. Not enough to make that big a difference, but enough to make them step up their game with what they say to regain full control of the male id. We as men, we all have what I like to call our, quote, password. We all have that one thing that a woman can say to us that will completely disarm us and make us completely ignore her red flags. I'll tell you what used to be one of mine. I feel safe with you. When a woman said that to me, it used to override all of my programming and made me completely vulnerable to whatever she wanted to do. And I'll tell you a personal story. I remember this one Ukrainian girl I was dating when I was in Vegas. She may have been Russian, I can't remember, but her name was Tatiana. Beautiful girl, long platinum blonde hair, gorgeous sky blue eyes, slender body with curves in all the right places. I mean, this girl captivated me. Anyway, I remember we were walking down Flamingo Road. I'll never forget this. And we went to cross the street, but I quickly pulled her back to the sidewalk because there was a motorcycle speeding along the side of the road. Now, Tatiana was small. She was 5'2", maybe 105, 106 pounds after she ate a shrimp salad, which was her favorite food. So I was able to just yank her back to me. And she looked me right in the eye and said, "Donovan, I feel so safe with you." And I was like, no! It was like Achilles when he caught that arrow in his Achilles heel. I knew that she had disarmed me. I knew that she had just bypassed all of my 5% of programming, but there was nothing I could do. It was kind of like Hayden Christensen's character in Awake when he woke up mid-surgery, but he couldn't move or talk and could feel everything. He knew he was vulnerable, but he couldn't do anything about it. Turns out, Tatiana had a boyfriend the entire time I was dating her, and when I found out about it, guys, I was sick. It took me almost a year to get over her. That was the second worst heartbreak of my life. Anyway, Tatiana had scores of red flags, but when she told me she felt safe with me, it completely blinded me to all of those things. And because of that, she was able to play me like a fiddle. I was the side dude who thought he was the main dude. That's a rude awakening, guys. The reason it took so long to get over her is because I truly loved her. I thought she was different in a lot of ways. But looking back, she was no different from any other Vegas girl who sleeps around. She had an accent, she had beautiful eyes, and was from Eastern Europe. But at the end of the day, she was just like any other American girl. Stop me if you've heard one of these from a girl before. "I have so much fun with you. I've never met anyone like you before. I could see us together in the future. I would love to give you your first child. You make me feel like no one else ever has. I'm afraid of you because you could hurt me." Or the big one, "I think I'm falling in love with you. A lot of guys share that password. Used to be one of mine until I found this community. Tatiana once told me she wanted to have a little boy who was just like me. She said, Donovan, I want a small copy of you. I want to have a little boy just like you. Now, guys, I'm over 5 years into my 5% renaissance, and I'm actually entertaining serious thoughts of having a kid with this girl. I'm not kidding. Now, there are dozens more of these hacks to the male brain, and every one of us has at least one that a woman could or has used in the past to make you ignore the fact that she's got blue hair, a neck tattoo, 2 kids, an alpha ex-boyfriend she can't stop talking about who disappears from Friday night to Sunday morning. Well, Tatiana had a high-paying job. She worked in a field that required her to travel a lot. She was constantly surrounded by wealthy, high-value men and only FaceTimed me when she was on her porch smoking at the end of the evening. Red flags as clear as day, gentlemen, but because she felt safe with me and said she wanted a small copy of me, I ignored all of it, and she ended up getting the best of me. Know what your password is, guys. Find out what your hack is and be aware of it, because these girls will find out what it is, and better than 9 times out of 10, they find out before you do, and when they do, it is game over. Do not ignore this advice. Number 4, they are extremely affectionate. Promiscuous girls love to use affection to get their hooks in you. They know that physical touch is very effective in making you feel like you have a connection with them that they don't have with anyone else. I remember this one girl I was sleeping with. Her name was Dee Dee. She actually tried to get me locked up with a false domestic Isuba allegation. I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I also wrote about it on Return of Kings. Anyway, Dee Dee was very affectionate. She loved holding my hand, and she was very touchy-feely. She used to bury her head in my chest when we slept together, and she made me feel like I was the only one. I was 100% sure she was sleeping with other guys, but I used to think, well, she might be sleeping with so-and-so, but she holds my hand. She spoons with me in bed. She treats me like a boyfriend in public. Beware of women who are extremely affectionate early on. They may genuinely like you, but that doesn't mean she's not using affectionate touching as a means to an end, which is to lock you down. I have said many, many times before that physical intimacy is always transactional for women. Even when they like doing it with you, you know there is always an ulterior motive. My own girlfriend gets busy with me with an ulterior motive, which is I'm giving him some action so he doesn't get it from another girl. Yes, this is transactional. It's the correct transaction in the context of a relationship, but it is transactional nonetheless. Yes, she does have sex with me, I presume, for pleasure, but she also does it with a purpose, and all women do this to some degree. Well, physical touch is the same way. Girls who sleep around, they like affection just like any other woman out there. They like holding hands because it makes them feel loved and wanted. They like to be touchy-feely because it makes them feel good to be with you. They like to spoon with you in bed because they love the idea of waking up with a man in the morning. But do not get it twisted. They know that this behavior also ropes you in. They know that physical touch and affection bypasses your common sense and causes you to ignore their red flags, which again makes it easier to lock you down and take advantage of you. Number 5, they are submissive. Nothing, and I mean nothing, makes a man feel like a woman who is truly submissive. And I don't just mean submissive in the bedroom. I mean submissive in all aspects. They'll ask you permission to do things. Hey, babe, do you mind if I run to the store to pick up some water? That makes a man really feel like a man when his woman asks him permission to do even the most inconsequential things. And promiscuous women are acutely aware of this. Easy chicks will also make indirect public declarations of your authority at the expense of her submission to you. They will grab your hand and walk slightly behind you in public, which is the ultimate sign of submission in public. They'll even show you text message threads with their girlfriends that say, let me ask Donovan. If it's okay with him, it's okay with me. I remember this one girl I was sleeping with down in Vegas. Her name was Jennifer. I actually liked her a lot. We traveled a lot together. We'd go to Santa Monica, Corona del Mar Beach. I mean, it was great. Anyway, I remember one weekend we were driving out to LA, and she was showing me this email conversation that she was having with an orbiter of hers who'd been trying to get at her forever. And I think he was trying to get her to come to this party he was throwing at Caesar's Palace or something. I don't remember exactly, but I remember she emailed him, well, I'm with Donovan right now, and he wants to go to the beach. And whatever he says goes. That right there honestly made me feel like I owned her, because telling someone that whatever I say goes is another form of submission. Where I went wrong with her was when we were laying in bed one afternoon and she says to me, should I tell my mother I'm not going to see her tomorrow because I'm with my boyfriend? Now I paused, but my 5% conditioning picked up on that buzzword because Jennifer had overridden my common sense with her ultra submissiveness, making me think I actually owned her and caused me to ignore the fact that she had 4 tattoos, lived alone, didn't have kids, and admitted to me that she cheated on her husband before, during, and after the marriage. So what did I do? My dumbass said, yeah, tell her you're with your boyfriend. And that was the beginning of the end. Yes, banana gobblers are submissive in bed, but so are girl power movement activists and wannabe alpha females. All women are biologically hard-drive to sexually submit to males, whether they admit it or not. And women enjoy intimacy a lot more when they are being dominated, which means they are submitting. But where garden tools take it to the very next level is when they are submissive in and out of bed. And that's what gets us tripped up. What all of these things I've just listed have in common is that they're all things that women who aren't promiscuous do when they genuinely like you and want a relationship with you. They have to be attractive to get our attention, which is requirement number one, of course. Non-promiscuous women tell us we make them feel like no other man has because it's true. They tell you they love you and want to have your kids because they really do love you and want to have a family with you. These women are also submissive to men who are dominant and have high value. Now, granted, they may not have experience in the bedroom to give you that adult film star action you get from girls who sleep around, but trust and believe, they will try because they want to keep you around. The sad truth is that girls who get passed around actually have an advantage over women of quality in terms of making you fall in love with them because they simply have more practice. They've slept with hundreds of men. They've had dozens of boyfriends. And by virtue of sheer volume and extensive experience, which also means a lot of practice, they perfected the behaviors that override a man's common sense. And in some cases, a man's 5% awareness that would otherwise tell him that he would be an idiot to commit to her. And we are all susceptible to it. I don't care if you're new to this community or you're 5% veteran. At the end of the day, we are all men. And believe it or not, all men are like that. We all operate the same way, which is why these girls know exactly what makes us tick, and more importantly, the cheat codes that allow them to bypass all of the knowledge and all of the experience that tells us to run in the other direction when she tells us she hasn't been in a relationship in 2 years.
I haven't been in a relationship in 2 years. I've been fucking random guys for 2 years.
Women always assume that we assume that if they're not in a relationship, that they're living in a convent somewhere waiting for Jesus Christ himself to show her Mr. Right. In other words, they want us to think they've been completely celibate this whole time. This is never the case. Why? Because women are never not fucking. There's always a dick in their lives or their ass, one way or another, whether they're in a relationship or not. When she tells us that she feels safe with us, we sweep the fact that she's been bed hopping with dudes by the dozen for the last 2 years, which is the reason why she purposely avoided relationships for the last 2 years. These women know that men are designed to want long-term relationships with women, and they play on this by becoming hyper-efficient in the behaviors that make them appear to be suitable for long-term relationships. Again, they have years of practice, and that's why every single one of us here has fallen for these kinds of girls. I've fallen for these kinds of chicks more than I care to admit, and I'm Donovan frickin' Sharp, and if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. So fellas, did I leave anything off this list? Is there something on this list you think shouldn't be there? Let me know in the comments below. And for less than the price of a shrimp salad at the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company in Vegas, which I haven't been to since the Tatiana fiasco, you can join my community that helps men just like you become less susceptible to temptations of women like her. You will also get thousands of hours of exclusive content not found on any platform anywhere. Plus, you will get access to my Sunday webinars where I do coaching, consultations, and give advice. Get these things and much more at patreon.com/DonovanSharp. The link is in the description. Get thousands of hours of content not found anywhere on patreon.com/DonovanSharp. Link in description.